Hi there. We are here to discuss what's going on in the balance between the divine masculine and the divine feminine and what has happened along the way. As we discussed in another video recently, there was a talk about for the last 2,000 years or more, way more, we have been worshiping this male deity in the sky. We have been vilifying so much of what we call Earth Mother, which is the lower world, the underworld, right? And we ended up calling that hell. So inadvertently, subconsciously, in our psyche, our collective psyche, we started vilifying the feminine as being lower, connected to Earth Mother, and deifying everything that's above us, everything that has to do with male logic. What happened in our society is that over time, it's very unfortunate, but we started moving any softer values out of the way, any soft values such as love, such as comfort, such as taking care of, any kind of nurturing values left our society to be replaced by the logic of inside-the-box thinking. And unfortunately, that in itself became what we know as the matrix. It became what we know as toxic masculine. It became as what we know of what ruins our world. Because if we had the soft values left, right, if they still were instilled in us, we would actually use love as a moving force through our world. We would know that the value of love is actually much, much higher than any sense of logic. We would know that life without love does not exist. That life without the power and the energy of love doesn't have anything. It doesn't have movement. It doesn't have creation. It doesn't have magic, right? And the interesting thing about that is that if we look at the square box of the matrix that wants us to feel safe, which is fully based in control, right? Unfortunately, only creates a very stark and unnatural existence. This unnatural existence leads us to thinking that we can ravage and plunder and pillage and rape Earth Mother, which is, of course, a terrible, terrible movement. And there are many different belief systems right now, including some of the very religious people who seem to think that it's completely fine. And what we all forget is that we are throwing trash everywhere. We are emptying the resources. We are sucking the blood out of Earth Mother. And any one of those things that we're doing is creating more havoc. And not only for our generation, not only for this time, but for many generations to come. And just like many old school spiritual teachings, including Native Americans, were teaching about 7 generations down the line, that it would take 7 generations to repair certain things we do, that it would take 7 generations before we saw the results of the seeds we're planting today. So when we look at what we are doing to our world, 7 generations down the line, if we don't change our behavior, we will see a catastrophe of another scale. The movie Wall-E will look like, not paradise maybe, but it will look pretty nice compared to what we're creating. So, and for you, if you don't know Wall-E, it's about a robot that survives on Earth after we have left Earth, because Earth was so polluted, there was trash everywhere, that humans could not live here anymore. So we just left. We went to other planets. And Wall-E is left alone on the planet here. So it's a beautiful movie, animated, very nice. So when we move into the toxic versus the divine versions of the male and the female, we also start to see that the divine masculine, here comes the love part, the divine masculine is really meant, right, to hold space, to create a safe platform. If we think of the divine masculine as a warrior, as a strong, powerful warrior who can stand his ground and stand up for what's just, what's right, what's purposeful, what's in alignment with any sense of higher self. What basically we can say our guides are telling us, or we could say it's God's will, whatever you feel like saying. But it's important to remember that the divine masculine is a powerful force. The development of our world, where we have moved from divine masculine into toxic masculine, and it goes toxic when we come from fear. When instead of moving from love, we're moving from fear, thinking, oh, but I have to control this. I have to make sure that this happens or that happens. I have to ensure that this doesn't happen. When we move from fear, especially the fear of like a lack, right? Fear of lack, which is what drives the profit-driven, greed, littered version of our society, where profit is the only thing that matters. It's almost like we are, if you think about people who have been starving, maybe, a few thousand years ago, if we went through starvation, that could really scar people. And then they would, if they went through starvation, they'd be, oh my God, I don't want to starve again. I don't want to starve again. So I got to make sure I don't starve. Well, that's what greed looks like, right? That's what our profit-driven society looks like. Oh my God, we've got to make sure we're not going to be poor again. We're going to make sure we're not going to be without again. So then but that has turned into a monster. That has turned into this crazy effect on our world, right? And we don't see what we're doing because we are blinded by fear. We're blinded by greed. We're blinded by the idea of having more is going to make us happy. And unfortunately for all of us, that is a fallacy, right? I mean, fortunately, we're starting to see that it's a fallacy, but it's unfortunate that our world has gone in this direction for quite a while now and far into it. So in order for the divine masculine to be able to move, or the toxic masculine to move towards the divine masculine, the movement that's going on right now is a little bit unfortunate. It's not bad that we are highlighting that there's something we call the patriarchy, and we relabeled it the white male patriarchy, which of course is unfortunate because it's not connected to a skin color. It doesn't matter who. When we look around our world, we see that anybody in power can be corrupted by that power. It doesn't matter if it's a white male, or if it's a other color, or if it's a female. Anybody who's corrupted by the fear and the greed of not surviving is actually going to turn into much like what we have here. And what has happened is that we left our natural ways. We went towards the white male patriarchy. And nowadays, it's very popular that we beat up on it, right? But here's the thing. If you are struggling for power, and you don't know how to get that power, you don't know how to regain your sense of safety or strength, if somebody keeps telling you that you're doing things wrong, you're doing it wrong, you're doing it wrong, you're doing it wrong, you're horrible, we're not really going to help them to regain their strength and power. We're sort of breaking it down. So the unfortunate part is here that on some levels we can really look at the divine feminine is much stronger than the divine masculine is today, right? The divine feminine has been able to stay in its strength. Even if we don't see it, right? But if you look around on many spiritual teachers, and especially the women spiritual teachers, are very powerful in their messaging. They're very strong in their messaging. This is because the divine feminine expresses itself through creation, through love, through power, through force, in a healthy way, right? And this is a wave coming up in our world, in our subconscious, in our psyche. The wave of the divine feminine is coming, right? But in order to help the divine masculine to move towards the divine masculine, from the toxic to the divine, it doesn't help to keep bastardizing it, right? What helps is to guide and to show that if you want to step into your divine masculine, what we do is We grow as humans. We face our shadow, we face our fears, we face what's going on within. And this way, we get stronger. And this way, as the fear starts to leave the toxic masculine, it's in direct proportion to where it is on the sliding scale between toxic and divine. It's in direct proportion. So the less fear in the toxic masculine, the more in its divine it can stand. And when the male steps into the divine masculine, it becomes a power for what's right, for what's truthful, for how we can grow as human beings. And then the divine masculine holds space for the divine feminine to truly step into its power. But the divine masculine still has to hold the framework. It still has to be allowed to be strong. And this is where we kind of sometimes go wrong, when we are blindly criticizing. And we're blindly, without giving any kind of idea of what to do. This is bad, this is bad. But we gotta see that, so if this is bad, how do we move from toxic to divine? How do we move from unhealthy to healthy? How do we move from dark to light? How do we move from hate to love? Because it's all a matter of moving to love, right? Because nothing is gonna get better by hating something. Hate does not help hate, right? It only begets hate, right? So, as you know, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, right? Hate begets hate, love begets love. And so many teachers have been saying that. So when it comes down to that, the more we help the divine masculine to heal, the stronger the divine masculine gets, the stronger the platform and the framework that the divine masculine holds, so the divine feminine can feel safe and express its true creative freedom and its true creation of life. And that part is beautiful. So we have kind of been sidetracked again by the matrix with all the negativity that is flowing everywhere. And it's not that we shouldn't point it out. It's not that we shouldn't be speaking up or screaming from the top of our lungs. But if you really want to come from a healing space, and if you really want this to get better, we do need to see how do we move the needle from toxic to divine, over and over and over. And I find it beautiful, right? Because once toxic masculine moves into divine masculine, it's very beautiful. It's very powerful. It's very strong. It's a beautiful expression of love and life and force. And we need that, right? We need these warriors to step up. It's like the divine feminine needs the divine masculine to step up. The divine feminine is super powerful, but it still needs its counterpart. We need each other in that balanced way, where both are allowed to truthfully express creative forces. And in our society that has gotten more and more subdued through the work of the matrix, through the workings of tightening down on regulations, tightening down on laws, on unwritten laws inside of us, tightening down on what you're supposed to do and not supposed to do, on cancel culture and all of these things. They're only spreading more fear. It's not helping us to grow. It's helping us to diminish ourselves, but not to grow. So moving the needle from toxic to divine, that's what we're heading for. And some of us, if you want to do this on an individual level, which is of course where it all starts, we sit with our shadow. We sit with looking within. We sit with, what's going on within my fear life? How do I face my dragons, my demons? And not, dragons are beautiful beings, but we sometimes call our shadow side something of that nature, right? So, but how do we face them? How do we face our demons? How do we sit with it? How do we sit with our fears? This is your journey, right? You start to look within. You start to be honest with yourself, and you begin, oh, so that wasn't very pretty. When I was driven by needs, by lust, by greed. We can look at all these, like what we call lust, greed, all these different, the 7 deadly sins. Most of them are very much based in the same idea of lack, a fear of lack. And most addictions are both a part of avoiding distractions, trying to get away from something, as well as there's fear of not having enough, not getting our needs met, not getting what we think we need or want. And as we start moving into like, oh, do I really need that to be alive? Do I need more cake? Do I need more ice cream to stay alive? Do I need more sex to stay alive? Do I need more alcohol? Do I need more drugs to stay centered and alive? Of course we don't. It feels like it if we are in the middle of the addiction, but of course that's not the truth. The truth is that you don't need anything to find your balance, find your yin and your yang, to come into a balanced inner divine masculine and divine feminine. And as you do balance yourself, that balance spreads out into the world, and then it becomes easier to see what's going on out there. So, this was about not beating up the masculine for not being in its divinity, because it's just like if we beat up on the feminine for not being in its divine, we're not really helping anybody to move towards the divine. We can look at the divine masculine and divine feminine the same way, where we see that the toxic expression, where in the female or a feminine, it might be a constant need for attention and a constant need for affirmations, confirmation that I'm okay, aren't I? If you love me, I'm okay. If I look good enough, I'm okay. While when we are in the divine version of that, we are like, oh my God, I know I am love. I know I am okay. Look at my beauty. Look at my creation. This is where we share freely with ourselves, but not from a place of lack, not from a place of fear, from a place of beauty. And the divine masculine going into toxicity is control, fear. You got to do what I say. And we move into divine and we go, oh, I'm just going to hold space for you. Because I know if I hold space for your divinity, that's going to grow. The divinity in you is going to get stronger and stronger. And there we are. 2 divine flames dancing. The dance of this world, dancing the dance of life, creation on our planet. All right. That is it for today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you like this video, please hit like and subscribe. It means a lot, of course. Of course it means a ton. And share if you felt like this spoke to you. We'll talk soon. Namaste and aho.